everybody. It is another Tuesday night in 2025, which means we are live. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, www.WeLikeSportsPC.com proudly presents to you our podcast tag team champions of the world, the Cleat Geek, Mike Valentine, Gabriel. You ready? I told you I'd give him a nickname. Let's try this one. Babyface.
What?
Gabriel, Babyface, Sportz. And we are the 6, 4, 3, and out guys. Gabriel, Babyface, you like that? What's going on, man? I saw your picture on the articles that you're doing, which it looks like it's a picture of you from like back in 4th grade or something there. That's where I stole that from. What do you think about Babyface? What do you think about that?
Yeah, isn't that the name of some musical artist nowadays? I can't keep track, but you know, if it sticks, it sticks. Good to be back on with you, Michael.
Have a better name you think for Gabriel than just put it in the comments here. Yeah, of course, buddy. Lots of energy. That's the way we do it here. We don't do halfway, brother. We do lots of energy. Absolutely. All right. So Gabriel's been doing great. I've been doing all right. And today we have a special guest. And I mean, we'll get to him here in just a moment. But first, we're going to do the walk-up music.
Are you ready? 20 seconds start now. Ten seconds remaining. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, everybody, here we go live on a Tuesday evening with myself, Mike Valentine, with Gabriel. And like I say, we'll pull him up here in a minute. We got a special guest. We will be doing our entire first segment where we'll be talking tight. Then we'll get into robot umpires in MLB. You like that? What did Rob Manfred say? And more importantly, what's Gabriel and I going to say? That's what's more important than that. We don't care about Rob Manfred. How far down are the Titans willing to go in the first round of the draft? If they make a trade, we'll ask our special guest, how far is he willing to allow his Titans to go? We're going to rank the top 3 active closers in baseball. Who are they? And why are we doing it today? We'll explain both of them in our 4-pitch talk segment. Why did the Titans cancel their prime workout with Shedeur Sanders? Or excuse me, their private workout with Shedeur Sanders? Is there something to that? Is there more than something to that? Again, we'll ask our special guest, and we'll pull up here in just a moment. He is chomping at the bit. I can see him. He is ready to go. We are going to talk about Vlad and Jared Durant, but for different reasons. 2 guys that have made headlines, and both of them in the right way. We'll talk about them both. And finally, as we wrap up our Titan segment, we'll ask, what will the Titans do with their number 1 pick? All right, Gabriel. Hopefully that music was a little better than last week. We got this thing all where, you know, if I was to say I was a professional, I'd be lying. So we'll just not say it. All right.
It's a fine-oiled machine we have, Michael. It's a fine-oiled machine.
Well, I don't know about fine. It's oiled, but then there's oil all over the place. But I ain't sure about fine. So we'll look at that. All right. Okay. So as I said, let me adjust this camera a little bit. Pull that up there. So all you can see is all this ugliness right here. All right. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, You can catch him on Twitter at Maximus Titan Fan. He is the host of the Titans Global Podcast. Here he is. Let's introduce on the show Max. Hey, Max, how you doing, buddy?
What's going on, guys?
Hey, not a lot, buddy. Gabriel, what's going on with you?
Yeah, we are now out of our favorite talking point, college basketball. We're going to shift gears just to baseball and the NFL. So I'm looking forward to this show.
Well, I tell you what, before we talk to Max here for a second, we put him up here on the screen doing a heck of a job with us. We appreciate him coming on. Let's do this. Let's congratulate Florida in winning the NCAA tournament last night. And let me give you a stat so that we can say bye-bye to college basketball officially. And here it is. Houston is the first team in Division I play in the history, of Division I play to play 40-plus games in the season and not suffer a defeat by more than 5 points. Not bad. Not bad. They couldn't quite get it done when it mattered at the end, but I thought that was an interesting stat. 40-plus games, never lost a game by more than 5 points. Max, can you say that about your Titans from last season, buddy?
No.
No. He says no, not at all. Oh, man. All right. Well, Gabriel, can you say that about your Patriots from last season? I mean, I don't want to make Max the only person to try on the stage, so
Oh, no. Can't say that about my Red Sox either, so it's all good.
Yeah. The problem is I can't say it about my Bengals either. So we're just three lonely podcasters trying to make it in the sports world, right?
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Max, let's start with you, buddy. I want to ask you this question, and Gabriel, I'm going to kind of go back and forth and ask you a few things as we're going to build to find out what exactly all of us think that Tennessee is actually going to do with that number one pick. All right. So let's start here. I think we've got to kind of build from a point here. So in your opinion, Max, what does Tennessee do well, and what is their best position group?
What do we do well? Well, I mean, our running back isn't terrible. Talking about Tony Pollard, obviously, but
Okay.
other than that, I mean, our defensive, our ableness to hold defenses to limited scoring ability. God bless. Can I even say that? I guess that is our best attribute, though, is our defense.
Okay. Defense being your best attribute's not terrible. So don't pew it too much. All right. We've already got people talking about Will Levis, and we will get to Will here in just a little bit. You could be surprised. It's a good setup for us because I'm going to get to Will myself. So what do you think the best position group is? Is it going to be the running back room, Max?
No, secondary. We got L'Jarius Sneed, Jarvis Brownlee Jr. A lot of people don't know about him yet, but trust me, he's one of the guys that's coming up. Roger McCreary's a great slot. We did let Awuzie go, which was a little shocking, but still a very good group of secondary. Oh, and a money hooker, I guess you can throw him out there, but we still need a lot of safety help too. So, whatever. We got a lot of holes.
We've got a lot of holes. All right. So then with you saying they've got a lot of holes, then just let me ask you, what does Tennessee need to improve on, and what's your worst position group?
Offensive line. They need to improve on blocking and quarterback play / however you want to say that.
Okay. Well, we'll say it like this. All right. Gabriel, I know you got a couple questions for Max. Go ahead and rattle your questions off here, and then we'll kind of go back and forth for different topics Max to answer for us, bud.
Sure. Max, help us here. Fill in the blank. The Titans must get blank in this draft.
Oh, my God. Starters. We need at least 3 starters, and that's a tall order.
Starters, just anywhere starters?
Yep. I mean, I'm hoping the number one pick goes the way I want. I guess I'll save that a little bit for later. But yeah, we got to have wide receiver. We got to have an edge. Lacking at safety. I mean, there are holes all over the place. Offensive line, we patched it up for now, but we got to have something for the future to depend on. So holes.
No, fair enough. So starter makes a whole lot of sense. I like that. Now, for everyone listening on the 643 and out pod at the 643 and out on X here, there was a Twitter or X poll question, and I believe Michael's going to update us about this later on in the show. But Max, for you now, answering this live, the Tennessee Titans are blank years away from competing for the AFC South title. 1, 2, or 3?
I think a lot of people will probably call me a homer for this, but it's just one. And the only reason I say that is not because I think the Titans are just that close to being contenders again. It's because the AFC South is kind of the toilet bowl of the NFL, if I'm allowed to say that.
Of course
You
you're
are.
allowed to say that, but I would, it's not the division that my team is in, so I'm fine with you saying that. We're good.
I'm just saying you can win the division with a 500 or better. So that's
No,
not
I agree with
that's
you.
not great.
No, you're 100% though, and speaking of being 100%, Gabriel, you were 100% right as well. We do have that question up on our Twitter right now, which of course, as Gabriel pointed out, is at the 643 and out pod. You can go and you can vote on this. So almost 100 people have looked at this, and we have a lot of votes up here. So we've got 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, and then I also put this year as your fourth one. So, Max wasn't a homer enough to go this year at least. So, he gave us a year, but no one has said this year. So it's at 0%. You've got 20% saying 1 year. You've got 10% saying 2. And Max, I hate to tell you, but the people are calling you a homer because 70% of our audience currently is saying 3 years. So once again, you can go to our Twitter poll at the 643 and out pod. You can vote on that, and you can be part of the show. You can also be a part of the show by clicking on the comments and putting in your comment right the moment as we go through and we do this. We're talking Tennessee Titans. All right. So, yeah, we got that poll question up there. Done a great job with that. The Titans, Max, have 8 total draft picks in the 2025 NFL draft, but they don't have a third round pick. Does that put more pressure on the Titans, you think, to get those first 2 picks right?
Absolutely, it does. Like I said, we need starters, at least 3. I mean, some people say at least 2, but still at least 3. And if you don't have a third round draft pick, that means you got to be finding a treasure in the 4th round or trade down somewhere and gain some more draft capital that way.
All right. So yeah, I mean, they've got 2 relatively nice picks, right? The number 1 pick in the draft, and of course, then you have the number 1 pick in the 2nd round. So yeah, there is some pressure on them to get that right. Gabriel, I'm gonna toss question 6 over to you. We got 13 questions here, so we're almost halfway, Max. And I can't tell if you're sweating or not. That blue hair and the blue background has got me all discombobulated here. I can't tell if you're sweating under these bright lights like your Titans do or not. I don't know. Gabriel, go ahead, bud.
Of course. So now, Max, the Titans canceled their private workout with Shedeur Sanders, and we may have gotten an inkling of how you feel about this on X, but I'm curious, what do you think now? What does this mean, in your opinion?
Well, I mean, it's pretty obvious what it means. It means the Titans aren't interested in Shedeur Sanders or Travis Hunter, which the Travis Hunter one kind of threw me for a loop that they didn't even, offer him much of a private workout or anything along those lines. But I think the feeling could be mutual. I think Shedeur Sanders could also not be interested in even showcasing for I think that is very much his would fit his character. Not saying he has a bad character. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I think it would fit his prima donna type character, and the fact that Dion might feel like all the media attention that Cam Ward has got to be the number one pick would kind of spur them a little bit, and I think they're just, like I said, I think the feeling might just be mutual. That's all.
All right,
Fair
I'm
enough.
going to
That's
jump
all
in
I
on
got,
this.
Mike.
Okay, that's fine. I'm going to jump in on this for a second because this Shedeur Sanders thing. I mean, he's a good quarterback. I'm not sure if he's a great quarterback. In fact, I'm not sure if Cam Ward is a great quarterback, and we'll discuss that a little bit more as we go into depth here with Max and myself and Gabriel as we are talking Tennessee Titans right at the moment and what they're going to do with that number one pick. But before we can decide what they're going to do with that number one pick, we have to set up some things first. Like, what do they do bad? What do they do good? We got to talk about Shedeur Sanders because he's a possibility there, and we're doing that right now. So, Max, do you think that Tennessee is not interested in Shedeur Sanders, or do you think Tennessee is not interested in the circus that will follow Shedeur Sanders?
The latter. It's the latter. I mean, for me, it's the latter. I don't know if that's really the Titans' point of view because to them, they're opening up a new stadium. They're trying to rebuild a franchise from nothing in a small market. So having somebody like, with a big name like that and that big background would actually be helpful. And again, no knock to the Sanders family. I really enjoy Deion Sanders. I really enjoy him as a coach.
Mhm.
I just don't really want his son to, and I think he's going to be successful in the NFL. If I can say that, I think he will be a successful quarterback in the NFL, just not in Tennessee.
I work with a bunch of crazy people. Let's just put it that way, and then let's just get rid of this comment right off the board. Okay. All right. So, I love you, Harrison. Okay. So, yeah, but don't you think that so Brian Callahan is your head coach there in Tennessee. If you guys bring in Shedeur Sanders, don't you think he's always going to be looking over his shoulder, just waiting for him to say, "Oh, now we're signing Dion as our head coach"?
Well, that and the fact that he's such a big person and personality that I think it would kind of clash. Because I mean, you need a rookie quarterback to come in kind of humble and ready to work. And from from everything we've seen from the quarterbacks that are available, obviously there's one that stands out.
Mm-hmm.
And he, in my opinion, came out as a nobody from high school, fought his way through the college years, and has been successful in every college that he's played at. And I think that's why he is viewed as the unquestionable number one or the best quarterback in the draft this year. And there's a huge drop off after him.
Okay. I'm just going to say I don't really agree with you, but well, that's okay. We're allowed to disagree. With we can't
That's
throw
right.
punches here. So we're you're in Tennessee, and then I'm all the way over here in Arizona. So we ain't going to be throwing any punches. And then it got Gabriel up here in New York. So I don't know. We're going to have to do a lot to hit each other. So I'm not traveling to Tennessee just to do anything crazy with that hair. Okay, I'm not. We'll just stay here in Arizona where the weather's
Oh,
beautiful.
side note,
Yes.
every time we have a very distinct accent, especially in the mountain side of Tennessee, but every time we hear somebody try to do our accent, it's actually quite humorous on TV, movies, everywhere. It's funny. But you're
Well, it's
good, man.
And it's really funny for me because I am actually born, raised in Ohio, so not too far from you, right outside Cincinnati. But my sister married a gentleman who, loved him to death. They moved down to Tennessee. I hadn't seen her for a few years, and then all of a sudden she got this accent. When I saw, I'm like, well, what happened to you? Well, what in the world was that?
Nice.
We
So,
brainwash people with our accent.
is that what it is?
Yes.
Oh, that's funny. All right, buddy. So let's move on to question 7. And I want to ask this, and I want to get your take on this because you're there, you're boots on the ground kind of guy. You follow the Tennessee Titans. So, do you believe in the Titans front office staff to make the right decisions in this draft? Do you really think that they're going to be able to make the right decisions, and do you trust them and then tell me why or why not, Max.
Look, man, I'll be honest with you. I liked Rand Carthon. I mean, there was a couple moves that he did that I thought were questionable, but overall, I liked him. I thought his draft picks were good. But looking at the front office that we have now, Chad Brinker is kind of a financial guru, if you will. He's very good at formulating contracts in a way that doesn't hurt the team long term if they're, short end, whatever. He's very good at formulating his contracts in a way that allows us to escape if we need to. And I think Borganzi, or Gonzo as I like to call him, is a good seeker of talent or whatever. I think I hope anyway. I don't really know. If I'm being honest. I mean, if I'm being honest, assistant GMs, you don't really know. You know what I mean? You don't know how much he has actually contributed to the picks that Kansas City has made over the years. As an assistant GM, you really have no idea how much input he has had.
That's
So
true.
I don't know how efficient he is. We'll find out. It's the same way with Rand Carthon. Rand Carthon apparently was a real smooth talker, but other than that and having really good connections, I guess he wasn't that good of a GM. So I hope that Gonzo can do a better job. And I know Brinker is pretty much the man in charge, so I guess he gets final say before anything else. But
All right. So as we keep on moving up, I mean, I'm watching how many people are viewing us. We keep climbing and climbing and climbing, and we thank all of those people. I do want to remind you, you can click on the comment section, and anything that myself, Gabriel, or Max are you okay in there? Are you just trying to raise your? Are you trying to raise?
no,
the
let's go, man. Get the numbers up, people.
Get these numbers cranking. We are, man. We're keeping going, man. We ain't going backwards, so that's the good thing, right? We're going to keep going forward here. So yeah, click on that comment button. You can leave your comments as we continue to add people, and you can actually be part of the show, and we love it. Myself, Gabriel, Max, all love it when you guys are part of the show. We can interact with all of you as well. Gabriel, I know we got another question, buddy. We're going to just keep peppering Max with all these questions. So give him something else, buddy.
Sure thing. Now, Max, is there a current player or current players that you could see the Titans trading for with their draft capital?
Trading for? Mm-mm.
Well, no, there's got to
Yes.
be there's got to be somebody that the Titans have that they're not real happy with, right? And they're like, okay,
You mean
I'll trade this guy and I'll get some picks for him or something like that. Give us one of those guys that you think that maybe the Titans are fed up with or something like that, and they're willing to just kind of dump off to someone who's a little bit closer of a contender than 1, 2, or 3 years, depending on who you ask, right?
Well, my easiest answer is Will Levis. Because that's obvious. But I don't know that we would get real good draft capital from him unless we packaged a pick with him. Now, if we were able to find somebody who is willing to package maybe a 4th round pick, because we have 2 of those, I believe, maybe even 3. I don't know. No, it's just 2. Anyway, package one of those with Will Levis to gain a 3rd round pick. I think that's actually a viable option if we can find somebody who's willing to go for that. But other than Will Levis, I mean, I don't know. There's not really a whole lot of talent on the Titans, and the talent that we do have, we don't really want to get rid of, except for maybe Arden Key. He's going to be a pretty high price tag going into the offseason or this season. I think he cost us like $7.5 million or something compared to the $1 or $2 million that we were paying him last year. So I could see him because he hasn't really produced anything, but other than him and Will Levis, I don't really see a lot of players that we have that other people would even really be interested in. People say Treylon Burks, but ain't nobody trading for Treylon Burks. Come on, man.
Well, you got a lot of receivers in that receiver room, a lot of young receivers. Do you think maybe you could package a couple of them or anything like that to get even a 5th or a 6th round or something?
I'll be honest with you, man, and this is where my homerness actually comes in. I love Colton Dowell. Absolutely love the kid. Played at UTC, Chattanooga, came into Knoxville as a UTC and ran like 100 and something yards on the Vols. And yeah, so I enjoy the fact that he came in and kind of spanked the bigger brother college, and he plays with a lot of ferocity, and he's actually pretty skilled, but he doesn't get a lot of attention. The other one would be Bryce Oliver, because he actually does get playing time and stuff like that. But other than those two, I don't really see anybody that we would be willing to. Like I said, Traylon Burks, but he's a trash can. Nobody wants our garbage.
All right. Gabriel, thank you for that question. We appreciate it. How far down do you think, or well, maybe not how far down the Titans are willing to go? Max, how far down would you be willing to go if they're going to trade this number one pick? I mean, do you think they still got to stay in the top 5? Do they got to stay in the top 10? How far down into those 32 picks are you going to be not upset if they go down that far?
Yeah, I mean, we can't go past 10. We got to stay in the top 10 at the very least, and I think that's Chicago at 10, which is, I think, not a very viable trade partner. But my point is I don't think you go any further than that. If you get out of the top 10, that's like danger zone. Because then, I mean, you might be able to. I don't know. It depends on what they offer us, I guess. I mean, we get 3 first-round picks like Carolina was giving up. Yeah, I'll go mid-round. I don't care. I mean, because we're going to end up getting a good quarterback at one point with one of those 3 picks. So I don't mind being terrible for maybe 2 more years instead of 1 more year. Okay. I'm cool with that.
So let me give you some examples, because I think I can give you some trade partners that will want that number 1 pick. We will stay in the top 10 first. I'm going to go number 9 with the New Orleans Saints. Would you be willing to trade down for the Saints pick? Maybe just a couple of minor things in order to drop down from 1 to 9. You think you can still get what you need at pick number 9?
Yeah, like I said, man, to go that far though, I'd have to have like 3 first-round draft picks. That would be a pretty big leap.
Wow. 3 first-round draft picks to fall like 8 spots. I think you need to be the GM of the Titans, man. You're driving a bargain over here that I don't think people are going to be willing to pay.
Well, that I think is why we've decided that it's just pretty obvious at this point. But I mean, if they want it, that's I think that's the way that the Titans are playing it, to be honest.
And then I heard on the, I'm not a big guy to plug other people's podcasts who are, much more popular than what we are. But I will for this spot here. Adam Schefter said on his podcast that this is the only draft in 32 years where there hasn't been at least 1 trade already at this point in the draft process. So, not only is Tennessee not trading anybody, nobody's trading anybody. Pretty much everybody is just kind of standing pat. I do think, though, that San Francisco may be willing to trade. I mean, we've seen them. Remember Trey Lance, and then they had to have Trey Lance, and they gave up an absolute boatload for him, and come up there to the number 1 spot. Now, you've got some really big players up there at the top. They don't need the quarterback necessarily, but they might want that edge rusher from Penn State if they can get that number 1 pick. Oh, that was crickets right there. This thing must not be working. I don't know.
Something about the fact that he is already injured, and I know it's a small injury, but I just can't. If you're a Titans fan, you cringe at that thought. Can't go down that road again. Just not with the first overall. Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
So you can't take a risk, is what you're saying.
Yes. Not only that, if you look at all the free agents we picked up, the common trend has been durability, availability, and durability.
Okay, and that's not a bad trend, right?
No, that's something we need.
Yeah, you said starters, right? So they got to be available in order to be a starter, right?
That's right.
All right. So I also thought maybe Atlanta down at 16, Seattle at 18, or of course Pittsburgh at 21, because all of those. I think those 3 franchises do need a quarterback, even though they're pretty far down on that draft board. Would you be willing to go down into the teens? Again, let's say we give you the 3 first rounders, their first round picks for the next 3 years. Are you willing to drop down to either like Seattle at 18 or Pittsburgh at 21?
Okay, so different scenarios. Yeah, Seattle, no. Or I mean, excuse me, I said that backwards. Steelers, no. And the only reason is because I think if I think they have a better chance at being good again quickly than Seattle does, if that makes any sense.
Okay. Well, I mean, they're
So I
not.
feel like Seattle's going to have the higher draft pick next year. I would rather go with it. You know what I'm saying? That's the only way I base this crap off of. I don't really know. If I was the GM, though, that's the way I'd be thinking. You know, which
Okay.
team has a better chance of success right now? I'll
All
take the
right.
other team.
You're supposed to be the expert here. Stop saying you don't know. You know, that's bad. That's bad podcast radio. Okay, stop it. No, I'm just kidding. Hey, Gabriel, I know there's another rumor out there that you'd like to talk about, buddy. Tell Max about this rumor that's out there that you'd like to get his opinion on when it comes to his Tennessee Titans. Go ahead, bud.
I always like going down the rumor mill, but yeah, here we are. So this one has to do with the Dolphins and them potentially looking to trade Tyreek Hill. So the Titans, your Titans, Max, they would trade the #1 pick and Will Levis. I know you'll shed a tear for Miami and the 13th pick, the 98th pick, and a 3rd-round pick. I believe I got that. So essentially, you're swapping the 1st and Will Levis for the 13th, 98th, and Tyreek Hill. Are you buying that?
No. No, and the
Okay.
only reason I say no is because who's going to throw the ball to Tyreek, man? I mean, if we don't take the #1 pick, you know, by the time 13 or whatever you said 13, is that right?
Yes.
Miami's 13. Yeah, by the time 13 comes around, there's not going to be any viable picks at quarterback.
Now wait just a minute. Don't you think Jackson Dart will still be there at 13? And
Perhaps.
please don't tell me that you don't think Jackson Dart's a viable pick because I may have to take a trip to Tennessee.
No, I don't. That's why I said I don't think there's any viable picks after the top 2 quarterbacks. I don't really. I mean, Jackson Dart's all right. Don't get me. You know, I don't want to take anything away from the young man. He played good in college, but I just don't think he's going to have the success in the NFL that Cam Ward and Shadur Sanders is going to have.
Oh, okay. I'm going to say something right now that is. I thought maybe I'd save it for a show a little closer to the draft, but you know what? Let's just go ahead and drop this right now. Gabriel, you're a lot better at clipping these videos and stuff like that than I am. So let's clip this. You ready? At the 32 minute and 45-second mark, the host of this show said Jackson Dart is going to have the better quarterback career than anyone else in this draft. You can come back to me in a few years, and we'll either laugh at me or we'll be praising me, one of the two.
Oh dang, I like it.
Well, at least I'm willing to put myself out there, right? I don't know.
Yeah,
There's a lot
exactly.
of other people that aren't, but I'm willing to do it. I really like him, and I think he's going to be a really good fit. So here we go, man. I've got to do this to you. What is your opinion? And now I got to get up. I forgot to get up my stuff here. You're gonna see my hands pop up and all this here. What is your opinion on Will Levis?
Do you mean overall?
Yeah, overall. Like, here's the thing. I'm just going to kind of come out here and say a little bit of things, and we'll see how you react and what you think about this.
Yep.
I don't understand why you guys are giving up on Will Levis to get this #1 pick. It just blows my mind that you would do that. I wouldn't give up on Will Levis yet, but Tennessee Titan fans and the Tennessee Titan organization and everybody else seems to be just fine with giving up on him, and I don't understand why. So maybe that's the way I should ask you. You've already said you would include him in a trade. Why? Why are you giving up on Will Levis so early in his career, especially when you guys gave up so much to get it?
Yeah, I really hate the fact that we traded up to get Will Levis in the 2nd round. That seems like bad, you know, in hindsight. But hindsight's 20/20, right?
Absolutely.
But as far as why everyone's ready to give up, man, it's a play-by-play thing. If you the off season, everyone hyped us up that this kid was going to be the next Brett Favre, the next gunslinger quarterback,
Yep.
and it was just terrible. Not only was it terrible, but he was making moves that were losing games. I mean, you look at quarterbacks that make plays that win the game, and you're like, that's a leader. But this guy was making plays that lose you the game. And I'm talking about that hero ball crap where he's going down, he's got two guys on him, and he tries to pitch it to somebody who's not ready for the ball. Just backyard football crap, trying to throw across his body. It's frustrating. It's really frustrating, especially after, he comes in relief of Ryan Tannehill, who was struggling last season, the season before last, whatever. And he comes in and he plays brilliantly for at least 2 to 3 games, depending on your definition. And then comes into this season and he just can't stop messing up. You ever seen The Replacements?
I've never seen that movie. I assume it's a movie.
Oh my God. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's a movie with Keanu Reeves and Gene Hackman. Fantastic football movie about when the football strike happened. But anyway, the character Keanu Reeves talks about quicksand in football. And, when you get down on yourself or you get down on a play and you try to make up for that play and you just get further and further and further behind, the more you struggle, the more you sink. And that's exactly what Will Levis was doing. He was struggling so hard, and he has this massive ego. People talk about Shadur Sanders' ego. No, bro. Will Levis has a massive ego, but he has zero self-confidence, which is crazy. I don't know how that actually happens, but the kid, I don't know, man. He's just got a lot of weak spots, and I see the potential, and I see what everybody else sees and thinks that there's something there, but I assure you there's not. It's not here in Tennessee anyway. He has burned his bridge here. None of our fans, none of our coaches believe in him anymore.
Isn't that kind of an oxymoron, though, Max? You say, okay, I see the potential, but it's not going to be here. How do you, if you can see potential, how do you know it's not going to be with the Tennessee Titans?
Well, I'll say this. Brian Callahan has to have a good season, or at least a decent season to keep his job. If he doesn't, he's going to be fired. So, with your job on the line, would you start Will Levis?
You can blame Will Levis, right? Is it? I mean, can you? I guess you could blame the new quarterback too. But if you really want something to blame, then you can say, well, we got this guy with the 33rd overall pick in in 2023. The guy is 6'4", 230 pounds. And I think what you said earlier is 100% right. Will Levis came in and took the quarterback reins by storm in the beginning, right? For his first 3 or 4 games, he was lights out. Debut season, he recorded starts in 9 games, 225 attempts, 149 completions, and 1,808 yards. His passer rating wasn't fantastic. It was 84.2, but it wasn't terrible. I mean, he came in that first start against Atlanta. I'm sure you remember it. And he completed 19 of 29 for 238. He had 4 touchdowns and a passer rating of 130.5. He's only the 3rd player in NFL history to record 4 passing touchdowns in his NFL debut. So, yeah, I think maybe that is kind of what doomed him, right? Was he came in just on fire and doing everything right. And then all of a sudden he wants to play hero ball. It's one of the, and you compared him to Brett Favre. I still compare him to Brett Favre. That's what Brett Favre has done his entire career, right? There's a guy that's open on the right-hand side, but you can get 10 more yards with a guy on the left-hand side. It's got 4 guys on him. And Brett Favre thinks he's the man where he can throw that ball in between 4 guys and get it to his receiver. Will Levis reminds me of that guy. But even as you already said, we knew he was that guy when he came out of college. So did you magically just expect him to change?
No. I mean, not really. No, it's just it's luck. It's bad luck. I mean, I hate it for him. You know, it really is. That's exactly what it is. If you look at the tape in his rookie season, I said it a bunch on my show. He kept throwing right into defenders' chests, and we said it a million times. If these catches or if these balls are caught, we're in a completely different conversation. But I
Mhm.
like the kid and I like his potential and blah blah blah. Well, last year there was no drops by the defenders. They all caught the ball. Not only did they all catch the ball,
Yep.
they all, took off, pick six, fumbles. It was everything that you can do wrong. And that's the problem. It's not just one thing. It was even when you were trying to mitigate his mistakes and fix your playbook so that he only has this much room to mess around with and he's still
Mhm.
doing stupid. I mean, it's extremely hard uh to get behind a guy like that. And I think you see it in the frustration of Coach Callahan when he said some very choice words in slow motion on TV about Will Levis. Everybody knows the clip I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think we've pretty much all seen that clip. So, yeah, I just think that for me personally, and Gabriel, I'll throw it over to you here in just a second before you ask your next question too. You can kind of comment on this as we wrap up our Will Levis conversation. I just don't think that. I guess I'll put it this way: I would be scared if I was Tennessee that I would trade him somewhere else, and then he just becomes a QB1 somewhere else, and the fans are just going to go crazy because you let that guy go, and we don't even
Very
know
real
about.
possibility.
Yeah, we don't even know about Cam Ward yet. So I would be, even if you stink this coming year because he's still your quarterback, you're still going to get a decent draft pick. And to be honest, I think the quarterbacks are better next year than they are this year. So I would kind of take that gamble personally. I'm kind of giving away the ending here as to what I would do with your number one pick, but that's just kind of me personally. And I would gamble with Will Levis, I think, a little more than what yourself and a lot of other Titans fans are doing. What about you, Gabriel? Would you gamble with Will Levis, or are you ready to let him go, or at least let him be your backup?
Yeah, I'm not too worried about him being the number one anywhere else. I think I think if you're Tennessee, you're not worried about that either. And it's just the ship sailed. He could be, he could have a redemption arc. We've seen players have that plenty of times.
Hmm.
It's not going to be in Tennessee though.
Okay. All right.
uh,
So, we got a couple more questions left, Gabriel. I know you've got one, and then we're going to ask that big one at the end. What is Tennessee going to do? Max, your lights went off back there, buddy. What happened? Is there a storm in Tennessee or something?
the
No,
weather
I just
zone.
have, um, a weak house and I got a lot of lights on all at once.
Oh, we got to clip that. I got a weak house and a lot of lights. That sounds like a typical Tennessee Titans fan. So that's
Heck
okay.
yeah, man. I got extension cords in here and different plug. Heck yeah, man.
All right, all right, we're good. Gabriel,
Nice.
go ahead and give him your last question before we get to the big one at the end, bud.
Sure. If you keep the number one pick now and draft Cam Ward, which it sounds like that's what you want to do, what do you then need to also draft to help him? Are you all set at running back? Do you want to focus then at wide receiver options, or is it all about shoring up that offensive line?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. And I think this is the second pick is the most interesting pick that the Titans have to make. And I think that's really what our gauge of how this draft goes is going to be more than Cam Ward. Uh, I think it's going to be that second round pick. Is it a wide receiver? God, I hope so. I'd love to see him like pair somebody up. I'd love to see us trade back in the second round, if I'm being honest. I'd like to see us stick with the first and trade back in the second, try to pick up an extra pick, trade down to like mid second round, maybe even late second round, pick up Kyle Williams from University of Washington or whatever, or Washington University. or what's the other kid? Restrepo. I think he could be an amazing NFL receiver. I think he will be a good NFL receiver. Um, so I think wide receiver is probably where I would go. But I also, like I said, we really need an edge. And if we have an edge with our interior defensive line, I think we would be a much better defense, and that helps a quarterback just as much as a wide receiver does. So I could see us taking the best player, whether it's a tackle, an edge, a wide receiver, whoever we think is the best player for us at that moment. Is obviously that's a stupid thing to say. Obviously, that's how picks work, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. I like what you said there, though, because I'm not sure if every team looks at it as I'm going to take the best player on the board, or if teams are looking to fill
Mhm.
specific needs. So, you even said earlier, about his name's going to escape me right the moment. The lineman who has the foot injury, right? You're like, oh no, we can't do that, right? Even though you just said you need that guy, but you're not willing to take that guy. You'd rather go, trade back into the second round and get somebody who has a similar skill set, but just not that guy because of that particular injury. So,
Yeah. By the way, we trade down in the first round. I want JPJ just for the record.
okay, JPJ. All right, buddy. So, I think the time has come. Let's ask this question, and we're going to throw it up on our Twitter as well. Let me hit the button. I got a computer over here, computer over there. I got the mic over here, and all this other stuff going on around me. So I had to turn away from the mic for just a second. Well, we put it up there. We have put it on the board. Yes. And now, here is our 13th and final question for you, Max. It's up on our Twitter right now. It is the hashtag live Sportz Truth X poll question, and it goes like this: what should the Titans do with the number one pick in the 2025 NFL draft? Max, you're our guest. We'll be nice. We'll let you go first. Gabriel, we'll go second. And then I'm going to bury everybody in the third one because I don't think I'm going to
Nice.
agree with either one of you. So go ahead. Max, go, bud.
I'll be real with you, man. Real quick. I have been predicting draft picks for the Tennessee Titans since before Vince Young was drafted. I have never been right. Not once have I got a first round draft pick correct. Not
You should have
one
shared that with me
time.
before I brought you on the show, Max. I mean, come on now,
Not
buddy.
one time. No, it's like a curse I have or something. It's like if I want that player, they're not going to get that player. They're going to get somebody else. But this year, after the season ended, very first thing when I started looking towards this draft, I thought, I want Cam Ward. That kid looks like he's got something. Not only does he got something, but he's not exerting all his effort. He's not putting 100% into it, which says to me he has a lot more to go. So for me, I was excited. I would take Cam Ward, but I preface that by saying that I've never been right. So, there you go.
So Max, the
Right
guy
on.
who's never been right, is going to take
Cam Ward.
Cam Ward with the first pick in the 2025 NFL draft. Gabriel, are
Correct.
you going to keep the pick? Are you gonna pick somebody else besides Cam Ward if you keep it? Or are you going to trade it? What are you going to do, Gabriel?
With the number one overall pick, in honor of Mr. First Down, who is also a Tennessee Titans fan, we are going to be trading down for a haul and a half.
Be all right with that.
As long as it's a haul, you're good, right?
Yes, yes. As long as we get a nice hefty haul, I don't care. I really don't. I want Cam Ward, but I'm not gonna be greedy. I'll take the long road.
You'll take the haul. You won't be greedy, but you'll take the haul.
Right?
That's right. Absolutely.
We're doing multiple oxymorons on this show today, so that's fine.
I'm from
Uh,
Tennessee, man. What do you expect?
Oh man. All right. So I think I've made myself pretty clear already, but I would take another. I would be willing to have Will Levis be my quarterback again for the upcoming season, knowing that if he's terrible, that you're still going to get another high draft pick, that you're still going to be in this same spot a year from now. And if you look, I think the quarterback play and a lot of the top people at the draft next year are better than the top players at the draft this year. To be honest, how many real game changers are there in this draft if you really look and think about it? And I don't think Cam Ward's one. I mean, if you remember, Cam Ward didn't come out last year because Cam Ward probably was not going to be any higher than a third round pick last year. So he decided to stay in school, and now all of a sudden he's a first round pick. I don't understand how suddenly a guy goes from the third round to the number one pick, and everybody suddenly loves him and thinks he's the best thing since sliced bread. I just think that you're going to be in the same boat again in a few years with Cam Ward that you are with Will Levis right now. So personally, I would do all I could to get rid of that pick, to trade that pick down. As we mentioned earlier, they don't have any third-round picks. I know you're like, what? You're going to trade the number one for a third? I'm not going to trade him for a third, but I would also be willing to take like 2 seconds and a third. And you don't really have to give me a number one because I don't think there's a huge – I mean, okay, let's talk about this. How many game changers, if he doesn't take Cam Ward, how many game-changing players are there in the first 32 picks of the draft?
You know, that's like saying how much are you going to sell this car for? It's really how much are you willing to pay for this car? That's the question.
Okay. I understand.
I don't know. If I had to put a number on it, I'd say probably I don't know, maybe 15, 20.
15, 20 what? What you
game-changing players.
Oh, you think there's 15 or 20 game-changing players in the first round of the draft?
Yep.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, that's. I think you need to. I don't know. Maybe your hair band is on a little too tight right at the moment, but okay. I don't know. You know, that's why we put 3 people on a podcast and we debate things back and forth, right? This is where we're at the end. That's where I'm at. That's where Gabriel's at, and that's where Max is at. Max, tell us, buddy. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I throw some numbers at you?
Sure.
People who say that Cam Ward's not deserving of a number one pick is,
okay,
to me, a little silly. When you look at Caleb Williams, who had 3,633 yards, 30 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 68.6 completion percentage. Jaden Daniels had 3,812 yards, 40 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and a 72 completion percentage. CJ Stroud had a 3,688 yards, 41 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions on a 66.3 completion percentage. And Cam Ward has 4,313 yards, 39 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions with a 67.2 completion percentage. Okay. And he's one of the best players under pressure in college football last year. So I don't really understand why people say that if he was in last year's draft, he wouldn't be even in the first round or wouldn't be even in the top 5 quarterbacks. It's just, to me, a little bit of a stretch. That's all I'm saying. He had an amazing senior year, as he did throughout most of his college. But I just feel like, I don't know. I feel like Cam is there. And, you know, like you said, if I'm wrong, man, you know, in a year or two, I'm going to be eating a lot of crow. I was wrong about Will Levis. You know, I had a lot of high hopes for Will Levis last year. And I think that's why I'm so upset. I'm heartbroken, you know. And so now I'm ready to move on to the next girl. Or, well, you know.
Nice.
All right. So speaking of moving on, I'm sure you're going to do a few more podcasts here in the upcoming weeks as we build to the NFL draft. Where can we find you on those podcasts, Max?
Yeah, man, you can, you know, like you said, I'm the host of Titans Global Podcast. You can find me on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok. I'm basically everywhere, Instagram also, but anywhere you find your social media, you can follow us at the podcast or me at Maximus Titan Fan on all those platforms as well.
All right, buddy. Hey, we certainly appreciate you coming on with us. It's been a nice almost hour talk with you here about the Tennessee Titans and what they're going to do with that number one pick. I also think, and you know what, something else I'm going to really take away from this conversation is something that you said earlier. The second round pick is almost as big as that first round pick. And I agree with you there wholeheartedly. So it'll be interesting to see what Tennessee does with those first 2 picks, and we'll see how much of an improvement they can make in the upcoming season. Max, thanks very much for coming on with us, bud.
Hey, thanks for y'all having me. I love coming on podcasts that aren't necessarily Titans, that are more NFL, getting other points of view, because I know I do literally look through two-tone blue glasses, so I get it, you know.
Understood. All right, buddy. Gabriel, any parting thoughts from Max as we bid him adieu, sir?
Good luck. You're gonna need it.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. Hey, Max, once again, man, thank you very much. So that is Max here. He is at Maximus Titan Fan. He is also the host of the Titans Global podcast. You can find him on both of those platforms, as well as everything else that he listed out earlier. Go to his page, and you can go to the YouTube and things like that right from the X page. So once again, Max, thank you very much, sir. We appreciate your time. We'll try to have you on again later on when Will Levis goes somewhere else and becomes a fantastic right?
Yeah, man. Call me up in a year or two when Will Levis is balling.
All right, sounds good. Thank you very much, buddy. We'll talk to you later. Okay. Oh shoot. All right. Well, that was pretty fun, man. It's nice to have these other podcast guys on here that have different opinions on different teams and stuff like that. Gabriel, what do you think about that?
No, absolutely, and he brought up a lot of points that I wouldn't have thought of, honestly. So that was really awesome hearing from him.
Right. So I want to make sure that we get a couple of these other things in. The last thing I want to talk about here real fast is I want to give you this stat, an NFL stat that we can throw at you. The Jaguars' Trevor Lawrence is the only quarterback picked in the first round of the 2021 draft that's still on his same team. So, for those of you who are like, oh, we got to get this quarterback, and he's going to be our savior and all of that, it's just the 2021 draft. There were multiple quarterbacks picked in that draft, and as it stands right now, Trevor Lawrence is the only one that's still on his same team. And then I want to give you this one as well. I meant to throw this in somewhere during the talk with Max, but I fumbled the ball on that one. But this guy has not. Ohio State running back Henderson. I can't remember his first name. Trayvon. There we go. Trayvon Henderson has not fumbled the ball since his freshman year in college. With the Ohio State Buckeyes, a big-time program, has a lot of other big defenses coming at him and everything else in the Big Ten, and has not fumbled the ball since he was a freshman in college. So if you're wanting somebody with sure hands, I believe that's your guy. All right, so it was nice to be talking Tennessee Titans with Max there. We're going to move on here, and we are going to go to our MLB 4-pitch talk, and we're going to do it with a little bit of music. As soon as I pull this up here, hang on, I'll get it, I swear. All right, Gabriel, we got 5 questions that we're going to do here with the Major League Baseball, and then I can't wait for this one. We have a really big announcement at the end of this podcast. I want everybody to hang on, stay tuned, and I think you're really going to like what we need to say here at the end. All right, Gabriel kind of knows what's coming. Of course, it's going to be involving a lot of different people, and it's involved in a certain podcast. Big time stuff coming right here on Sportz Truth. So, in an interview published earlier this week, Major League Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred all but pretty much said that the same system that was used in spring training this year will be carried over into Major League Baseball as early as next season. But it may also have to be collectively bargained in order to do so. Here's my first question, Gabriel. I know this wasn't on the notes, but we're going to put this up here real fast, and then we'll lead into the other questions that I've got for you, bud. Do you want robot umps in Major League Baseball?
No, absolutely not. For a number of reasons, but most of all, I don't like replay and I don't like robot robot umps or anything like that, because the human nature aspect of sports is very much important. So in this case, robot umps, since that's what we're specifically talking about. Yeah, great. I guess we're gonna get 100% hit rate of what is and isn't a strike, but that takes away from the magic of the game. That takes away from why people tune in and love baseball in the first place. I don't like it, and I've said this before. A catcher should be afforded that opportunity to be rewarded if he's able to frame a ball into a strike, and a pitcher should be able to expand that strike zone and or have it be so that there's a question in the umpire's mind. So you now installing a robot umpire, that solves an issue, I suppose, but it's very much short-sighted. I and takes away from what is a beautiful game.
So you don't necessarily care if the calls are right all the time, as long as the human element stays in the game. Yes?
It's important.
Is it that important though? I mean, isn't it more important to get the calls right?
No, I mean it's like, so the right call isn't always right though. So because like I said, the right call can be a pitcher extending that strike zone, but now under these robot umps, that's a legitimate part of the game, and it's right if a pitcher is able to get an umpire to call what would be a right ball a strike. That's a legitimate integral part of the game. So that's what I mean by just because it's now right, that doesn't actually make it right.
Okay, I'll give you an example. I was watching the Cincinnati Reds and a New York Giant, or excuse me, a San Francisco Giants game last night. It was the free game on MLB, and I'm a cheapskate, so I was watching that game. Um, that umpire, I don't know what his name is, the guy that was behind home plate, was giving both pitchers that pitch that's like a half a baseball off the outside corner. But he did it consistently all night long. And
Mm-hmm.
eventually you see the pitchers start to adjust. They're like, hey, well, shoot, I'm going to get that call. Let me see if I can go to a full baseball outside the strike zone, see if I'll get that one and stuff like that. So I
Yep.
will give you the human element part to it. But that was an evolving piece during that game last night, was to watch that and to see, okay, is he going to get that call? Oh wait, that's even further outside. Is he going to get that call? And it was very brilliantly pitched last night by both pitchers. In fact, Hunter Green one out away from a complete game last night. They ended up taking him out with 1 out to go. So I think that's the part that you're kind of alluding to. If we do the robot umps, I am afraid that every game is going to be the same, right? It's going to be the same strike zone. It's going to be the same thing each and every game, and we're going to get that human element taken out of it. But I also believe that the way they did it in spring training, it is a nice mix that will combine both. So the way they'll do it, if they put this new system into Major League Baseball like they did in spring training, each team starts with 2 challenges. So do you like that number? They only get 2, and if they challenge a call and they miss it, now they're down to 1. And if they challenge the call and it is actually overturned, they still get to keep both. What about the number 2? Do you like that? Or I mean, I see you over there making faces like I don't like this call. The number 2. Let's just go with that part right at the moment. Are you okay with 2?
I mean, I don't love it. I understand why I guess we're at that number and why you want to be afforded that opportunity. For me, I feel like it should be one and done, so that the manager, if it is a clear and obvious error and the manager then he gets to keep it, from then until the end of time. If he keeps using it and it keeps getting overturned, great. I'm all in favor of that. For me now, 2 is a little bit, it it affords the opportunity of, I'm just gonna challenge to challenge, and I don't like that. So that's why I would prefer it to be at 1.
Understand, and I've also seen, I'm sure you have, on some Major League Baseball games this season, even to where it's relatively close. It's the very last play. It's the last out of the game, and I've seen it where the managers basically don't even look into their replay booth. They go, yeah, they do the symbol challenge, challenge.
Yeah.
Like, well, you may as well, because it's the last play of the game. You might get it overturned. You may as well challenge it and see what happens, right? And that's not what the replay system is there for. The replay system is there to make sure that we get at least the majority of the calls correct.
Right.
All right, so let me put my own little spin on this. This is what I would do if we're doing this whole challenging the strike zone. I like it if you give the hitters one, if you give the catchers one, and you give the managers one. So it's more of an intrigue thing here, So the catcher gets one. He says, "Hey, I want to challenge that call." The call's overturned. Okay, so the catcher gets to keep that, and he gets to use it again. Now, if the catcher challenges it and he's wrong, then his is gone. Then you give one to the hitter. Same thing. The hitter's like, "Oh my gosh, that was not a strike. I want to challenge that play." And most of the time, if you guys have seen, those almost 60 people who are out there watching us right at the moment, they'll tap the top of their head because they want to challenge that play as the hitter. So again, you give the hitter one, and if he gets it right, then it goes to the next hitter and to the next hitter and to the next hitter. I think that would do a little bit more intrigue into the game. And then you give the manager one. One of the best things I love about baseball is when a manager is all fired up and he comes out there and he uses himself to fire up his team, and he gets himself tossed out or something like that. I love that in baseball, and I think this would contribute to that a little bit more. So instead of saying each team gets two, Gabriel, what if I give the hitter one, the pitcher one, and the catcher one? Or excuse me, the hitter one, the manager one, and the catcher.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. I'll tell you, under that system, I'll look forward to the first player on each ball club to blow it and lose the challenge for their team,
Right.
and then have that come back to bite them and maybe lose the series. So that's what I'd be rooting
Correct.
for.
Yeah, like I said, it almost puts another level of intrigue to the game, right? Because you're, and how many times are you going to see the manager pull the player down in the tunnel, and why in the world did you challenge that for? That's
Right.
only wasted our challenge, and so it adds another level of intrigue to the game, and I like adding levels of intrigue. I mean, when they were doing the whole my thing on this podcast, way back when myself and Mitch started things out on Spaces, before we put our lovely, or some people would say ugly, faces up here on podcast television, is I wanted them to do like green card, red card kind of thing out of the dugout. So the manager would get, instead of doing what they're doing right now with the shift, like you can't move, I would give them 10 batters a game. And the manager can, like clap his hands or something and hold up the red card. And the red card means, okay, I want to shift on this guy. And so you pick 10 at bats a game, and you do get to shift on those 10 at bats. So again, it would kind of add another level of intrigue. Which ones do we shift on? Did we waste one of our shifts on this guy? Did we? That's the way I wanted to see it done. Of course, nobody pays any attention to me, especially not back then. We had like 4 people listening. Now we got 5. So
There we go.
yeah.
Growing.
Well, we are growing. We are growing by one, right? So, and just to give you a little bit of statistics on this, because you've been with me long enough now, you understand how much I love statistics. 2.6% of the balls were challenged, and they were done at a 52.2% percentage success rate, which that only means that on an average game, 2 calls would be challenged on an average game, and each call takes between 30 and 41 seconds. So you're adding a minute and a half to the game in order to get those calls right. And I don't personally, I see where you're coming from as far as the human element side of it goes, but I don't think that it adds much time to the game. And I think that it's more important for us to get things right, even if it does add a couple extra minutes to the game. So just getting your thoughts on that. We'll wrap that up, and then we'll go to our second pitch of our MLB 4 pitch talk. Gabriel, go
Oh yeah, I'm very much okay with them getting calls wrong at times. I mean, just today, they for sure, I would have bet everything that a certain ball wasn't a strike, and it went against my Red Sox favor. That's part of the game. Maybe tomorrow or whenever I think the Red Sox play the Blue Jays tomorrow at Fenway again. Hopefully, it's above 40 degrees. But that's
Sure, the
I
players hope
think
it's
this.
above 40 degrees too.
What?
I said, I'm sure the players hope it's above 40 degrees too.
Oh no, it's actually really cold, like in the Northeast right now, and I can't imagine playing baseball in it. But I think this tit for tat mentality of we got this one right and then this one wrong. I think too much time is spent on that within the game itself. It's fun talking points afterward. I would just say, for the most part, ball clubs should focus on the things like hitting and pitching, and less so of an umpire getting something right or wrong, and you live with the results from that standpoint. I don't want to see too much. I'm very much anti-robots or AI or whatever in officiating across all sports.
All right. Now you can go to our Twitter page right now at the 643 and out pod. You can vote on the Twitter poll question that we had up from earlier about how many years the Titans are away from competing, as we had Max on earlier. You can also vote to see what you would like to do if you were the Tennessee Titans and you had that first pick. Would you keep it? Would you trade it? What would you do? We're just leaving that as an open-ended question for people to comment on, and you can get to both of those on the Twitter page at the 643 and out, guys. Gabriel, I know your Twitter is right there below your chin at Sports Pulse 100. Where else can they get you at besides at Sports Pulse 100?
Yeah, and on the WeLikeSports.com, which is We Like Sports with a Z, and really on the X I'm sharing out, either something from my friends, something from one of the other writers, maybe on WeLikeSports.com, or some of the other places that I'm at. So definitely check me out there, please.
All right, sounds good. Now you're setting me up for next week. I've already talked to a couple of the guys. We're going to start really doing some things with a lot of our writers at www.welikesportspc.com. Again, as Gabriel said, that is sports with a Z, SPORTZ. Fanatic Dan will be on with us next week. His Twitter handle is at Denver D Mark, so it's DENVER, capital D, capital MARQ. You can find him there. He has written a lot of things for us. A relatively new writer, but I wanted to give him some props. And we're going to talk next week about the Colorado Rockies. They have gotten a lot of new faces up there in just the past week or so with some debuts. The Denver Nuggets, of course, just did some crazy stuff today with their coaching staff and things of that nature. So I wanted to talk to him about that. And then I also wanted to talk about a couple of the other Colorado teams, the Broncos. What are they going to do in the draft? So we'll have some really good talking points with him next week. There we go. There's your buddy. The cold is getting to New York City, he says. So how cold is it there right now, bud?
I mean, it's snowing.
Is it snowing?
I'm freezing.
Well, you know why I live in Arizona, sir? There's a saying we have out here, and it says you don't shovel sunshine, sir. So
yeah. Nice.
I don't want to make you upset, but there's no snow in sight where I'm at, buddy. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry that there is there.
Hang in there, Jordan.
Where you
Hang in there.
Hang in there, buddy. Hang in there. On Sunday, Kenley Jensen, who is now the Angels closer, recorded his 1,225th strike. The two closers that are ahead of Jansen are also still active in Major League Baseball. They are Aroldis Chapman with 1,250 strikeouts and Craig Kimbrell, who's right above him, former Red Sox, of course, 1,265. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to have a little exercise here where we rank these three closers, and those closers would be Kenley Jansen, Craig Kimbrell, and Aroldis Chapman. Gabriel, I'm going to let you start first, but we're going to start at 3. Which one of those 3 closers would you put at number 3?
So kind of like a draft, and who would be who would end up being the third pick, the last pick of this group?
Correct.
I'd probably go Jensen if I have to be honest.
Okay.
Nothing against him. Obviously, he's had a great career in itself, but I would just say, Kimbrel for sure had the better run of these 3 here, and I think I should have clarified too. Sorry. Are we talking current or just over their career?
No, over their careers. Let's go over their
Okay.
career.
Okay.
That's the stats, and I'm going to rattle you off here in just a few minutes.
Okay. Yeah, I would then also give the edge to Chapman then, over Jensen. So that's kind of where I'm thinking with that. Jensen at 3.
All right, so Jensen at 3. I would agree with you. And I'm going to use the same metrics on each one of these guys. We're going to compare the same numbers for all 3, and then I'm going to kind of tell you why I did that once we get to my number 1 guy. So Jensen, his WAR, wins above replacement. All of these are career numbers, by the way. I said a few minutes ago we're going to go career. So all the numbers I'm going to rattle you off are career numbers. Jensen's WAR is 22.3 for his career. He's 49 wins, 36 losses. His ERA for his career is a really solid 2.56. He has 449 saves, and he has been in 875 games. So none of those numbers are bad, as you were saying. It's not like we're picking the worst from any of these guys. But if I've got to put somebody at 3, if I'm looking at Jensen and Kimbrel and Chapman, I am going to put Jensen at number 3. So I'm going to go back to you, Gabriel. I think you pretty much already told us, but let's clarify. Who would be number 2 for you on this list between? So if Jensen's going to be 3, then who would be number 2 for you, Chapman or Kimbrel?
Yeah, you had it beautifully set up. You had it so that we'd go 3, 2, 1, and I immediately went 1, 2, 3. But either way, I would go Chapman too. And again, not a knock on him by saying he would be the second option to Kimbrel. Just for me, I would definitely say the prime of Kimbrel was stronger than Chapman's again. But again, Chapman's up there. He also has 2 relievers of the year. But just for me, I would have him as a notch below Craig Kimbrel.
Okay. So you're going to go Jensen 3. You're going to go Chapman 1. So then, we obviously know that there's only one guy left. So he's going to, or excuse me, Chapman 2. So then you're going to go. I know I'm got the U disease. I can't decide which number I'm going to put people at here. So Jensen at 3 for Gabriel, and then Aroldis Chapman at 2. And, obviously you're going to put Craig Kimbrel at number 1. Let me give you some stats on these last 2 guys here real quick. So I would actually put Craig Kimbrel at number 2. So we're going to flip-flop 1 and 2, and I'll tell you why here in just a minute. So let me give you the stats, the same ones I gave on Jensen for Kimbrel. They have the exact same WAR, which I thought was a little ironic, 22.3. So Jensen has 49 wins. Kimbrel is a little bit better at 56, but he also has 47 losses, and Jensen's only got 37. So I think that kind of evens out. Kimbrel a 2.59 ERA with Jensen's 2.56. Jensen has 9 more saves than Craig Kimbrel does, 449 to 440. And Kimbrel has been involved in less games, 837 to Jensen's 875. And I agree. I agree with your guy right here. Jensen was one of the best closers at the time. Yes. If you were to take his peak years, but those peak years are gone. Okay, they're no longer. In fact, to be honest, I was watching him pitch the other day, and while I was watching Jensen pitch, I was like, okay, what are you out here for? What are you trying to get? Because he is just not the same guy that he was 4 or 5 years ago. I think sometimes players hang on just a little too long, and it gets to be a little sad when they do that. But we'll see how all that pans out. Oh wait, hang on. He put up another one that I missed there for a second. Chapman at least could still hurl 100. Yes, and we are actually gonna get to that. I did not see what that was. I was I clicked the wrong button there. So yes, Chapman could get up to 100. Actually, he could get up to 103, 104 at times in his career, and he is still throwing 100 miles an hour with the Red Sox right now. So if it's me, I'm putting. We agree. Jensen's number 3, and then I'm going to put Kimbrel at 2, even though I have to say, as a kid, when Kimbrel was doing it, how many times? I'll ask you, Gabriel. How many times did you mock? How many times did you do the we got the thing here. You can't probably see it, but where he like hangs the arm or whatever, and you stand. How many times did you do the Kimbrel, right? When you were pitching or something? Did you do it often? I mean, especially when he was a Red Sox for quite some time. I'm sure there's no bias here whatsoever from your point.
Well, no, there is never bias here unless I'm speaking. But nah, for me, I'm giving Kimbrel the edge for his Atlanta years, though. Those early, what was it, 2011, 2012, 13. That was just such a great run, and for me, that's what gives him the edge over Aroldis Chapman. But Chapman, current Red Sox right now.
Mm-hmm. I saw he was doing pretty well for you the other night. He's got a couple saves for you already. So I think of the 3 of them, he's the one that still has gas left in the tank. So it's a little unfair
Yes.
to him to where we're going to put him at. And here is Chapman's numbers. His WAR is a little less, but I'll tell you what. Let's do it this way. So to be fair, Jensen's been in 875 games. Kimbrel's been in 837 games, and Chapman's only been in 800 games. So there's 75 less games for Chapman to get more strikeouts and stuff like that. So, and if you look at it that way, where they're at as far as that part goes, I think that's a real testament to him. 75 less games, but actually has more strikeouts than Kenley Jansen does. So to go back, Chapman's WAR is 21.2, the lowest of the 3. He has won 57 games, the highest of the 3. He has lost 45 games. He's in the middle of the pack there between comparing the 3 of them. He does have the highest ERA, 2.62. He has the lowest amount of saves at 337, but he also has the lowest amount of games at only 800. And here's where I give Chapman the edge. And I'm going to be really curious to get your perspective. I saw him do it as a Red Sox the other night, and in so doing, I said, "Oh yeah, there's the guy." Did you see him make the save the other night? And when he was done, he literally just stood there on the mound and stared back at the batter. That intimidation factor for me is what pushes Aroldis Chapman to number 1. Craig Kimbrel hangs the arm and all of that. But there's no intimidation there. Kenley Jansen, in my opinion, is absolutely no intimidation whatsoever.
Well, right.
But Aroldis Chapman has that look, and he just has that demeanor on the mound. Like, you pissed me off, and I'm going to come inside, plunk you in the kneecap, and your knee's going to be back there on the backstop when we're done with it. So his intimidation factor is what, for me, gets Aroldis Chapman to number 1. So I would be Chapman, Kimbrel, and Jensen, and you, my friend, are going to put Kimbrel at number 1, Chapman at number 2, and Jensen at number 3. All right, fantastic. Let's move on to our third pitch in our MLB 4-pitch talk, and that is Vladimir Guerrero. We have got to talk about this guy for a little bit, right? So Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and the Blue Jays have agreed to a 14-year, you ready? $500 million contract extension. That's an average annual value of $35.7 million, and is the second largest contract, only second to Juan Soto's contract that he signed earlier. So Soto signed a 15-year, $765 million contract. Vladimir Guerrero signed a 14-year, $500 million contract. So here's your first question, Gabriel. Would you rather have Soto and his contract, or Vladimir Guerrero and his new contract?
What are we even doing anymore? A 14-year or a 15-year contract? What is this? What I can't even think off the top of my head of all of these great big enormous contracts. Like where is it where by year 12 we're saying, "Oh yeah, this was a good investment. We did well here." Like that just doesn't happen. So which one would I rather pick? I guess the 14-year one. Why? Because that'll be one less year that I'm on the hook for, but you're going to be on the hook.
Right, and haven't they learned from? Let's rattle some people off. Haven't they learned from Albert Pujols in
Right.
the right in Anaheim? Haven't they learned from Hamilton in Anaheim? Didn't you learn from Miguel Cabrera in Detroit? We can. Didn't you learn from Alex Rodriguez in Texas? Right. Way too many contracts that go way too long. Oh, here we go. Now here's your buddy. Now here I'm going to put
great.
him up here. You ready? He
This is
says,
why.
"Take the prime years." Right?
This is
Okay.
why.
So now it seems like and pray to contend in most of those years. Okay.
Oh, you'll be
So,
praying.
right. I 100% agree with both of you. But you're killing your franchise for at least 5 of
Yeah.
those years, right?
Oh,
Let's
yeah.
say Vladimir Guerrero can have 10 good years. I mean, he's only 26. So he goes from age 26 to age 36, and he has 10 good years of Major League Baseball time. Okay, but you have to pay him for 15. I mean, there would be no other job. Where I'm at, I have a 25-year retirement, right? There would be no job who would say, you know what, I know we're supposed to pay you for a 25 years before you retire, but we're just going to go ahead and we're going to go ahead and give you 20, and then we're still going to pay you the same amount, and we're just going to let you go at 20. And no, they would get that extra 5 years out of me, right? And that's what we're doing here. It is a little crazy. Long-term contracts are poor decisions, but they want the short-term success and the ring. Okay. Didn't we rattle off all these contracts? Did Detroit get a ring? Did the Angels get a ring? Either one of those contracts?
Not a lot of rings.
Right. And Gabriel, I think that's our point, right? There's not a lot of rings there.
No.
He's laughing. Well, it's your buddy. You can laugh at him all. Right? And of course, I believe he has another article ready for us, and we're going to publish it up on www.welikesportspc.com. I know, Gabriel, you have another article that I'm behind right at the moment. I need to start publishing some of these articles. I apologize to both of you. I'm a little behind on stuff. We've got a lot of articles actually up there ready to publish, and I just got to go through and edit them and add the pictures and put them up. So here in the next 24 to 48 hours, you can go to www.welikesportspc.com, and you'll find some great new baseball articles as well as other sports as well. So no deferred money. There's a full no trade clause in this contract, and he has no opt-outs. So of those three, the no deferred money, the full no trade clause, and having no opt-out, which one of those three do you think is most significant in the contract for Vladimir Guerrero?
Probably the no deferred money. I might be willing. I'm actually curious what you think, Michael. I might be willing to give the Shohei Ohtani one a pass because of how they're able to. It's $5 on. It's $5 for the Dodgers now, and it's all basically deferred. Whenever that end of that contract is. So I might be, I might be willing to give it a pass for that, but for me, based on my understanding of how it works, I think the no deferment is what is going to end up killing the ball club more than anything else. But that's how I view it.
Okay, so even if you have a deferred contract, Major League Baseball makes you put that money in the escrow. So the Dodgers still have to essentially pay that contract, even though they're not actually paying it right this second. All right, so let's use that as a buffer as well. I would much rather go ahead and pay the money, and at the end of that 15 years, I'm done. I don't have to worry about robbing Peter to pay Paul, essentially, because later on down the road, like as of last year, just because I'm a big Reds guy, as of last year, the fourth highest paid player on the Cincinnati Reds payroll last year was Ken Griffey Jr., which is crazy to say, but it was. He was the fourth highest paid player on that team. And he hasn't played for them in a number of years, right? Because of the way they structured that contract. So when you look at things like that, I mean, how long after Shohei Ohtani is over and done are they going to be paying him? The Bobby Bonilla contract, right? It comes up every every year because the Mets, I believe they put a 20-year, like he gets $1 million a year for like 20 years.
There you go, Jordan.
Smart by Bobby Bonilla, smart by his agency, but
Mhm.
and $1 million is probably nothing to the Mets. But if it
But
was
still,
a different,
yeah.
right, still, right, if it was a different club, it would be a different kind of a contract. And no, by the way, Jay, they're not paying him anymore. Last year was the final year of that contract. So I want to say it was like 6.4 million. I could look it up, but I'm already distracted enough with all this crazy stuff around me. So let's not add to it. But yeah, it's just kind of funny to me how everybody thinks that these deferred contracts are great, but you are going to have to pay the contract eventually. And my thing is, you may as well go ahead and pay the contract now, and then be able. Yeah, there's another one, Chris Davis for the Orioles. Absolutely, they paid him for a long time after he was giving them anything whatsoever. So absolutely right. So again, I'd rather just pay the contract up front and do it that way. The full no trade clause, I think, it's unusual to me because does that mean that the Orioles, or excuse me, that the Blue Jays are fully committed to Vlad, or does that mean that Vlad wanted that and he is fully committed to the Blue Jays and he wants to stay there? I would love to find out which way that went. Who wanted that in the contract? Was it Vlad's representation, or was it the Blue Jays representation that wanted that in there? As far as that part goes, and then the no opt outs, same kind of thing, right? He does not
Right.
have any way to get out of this 15-year contract, but neither do the Blue Jays. They don't have any way. I mean, I'm sure that some of these contracts have come up, and you've got your opt out. Last year, I'll give you a great example that everybody probably is still fresh in their mind. Jordan Montgomery, he had an opt out in that Arizona Diamondbacks contract last year, and of course, no, I'm not taking that. I had a terrible season, and now I'm going to get paid $20 million. I'm going to opt in. And Arizona had no choice but to say, well, okay, here you go. Here's your money, right? But the
Well, right,
player
yeah.
had the opportunity to opt out. If he had a great year, he'd go somewhere else and make more money. So it would be interesting to find out whether it was Vlad's representation that wanted those two things in that contract, or whether it was Toronto who wanted to put those things in that contract. So let's move on here for a second. So what's now expected of Vladimir Guerrero in Toronto now that he has this new super huge contract?
Listen, I'm gonna maybe talk a little ish. I
Okay.
understand that we're down 0-2 in this series now, and I'm saying we as a Boston Red Sox fan in Fenway Park, which is it was embarrassing how today particularly unfolded, but it's fine. I'll get over it one day. I still think. I mean, what you're at best the fourth. You're the fourth best team in the AL East. You're I like what's an expectation? You're gonna hope, I think, for let's just say the next 6 years, 3 of them you're making a run into the playoffs, and that's like that's your big major accomplishment. Like I don't think you're sniffing the I don't think you're sniffing the AL East anytime soon. Even if my Red Sox, even if that's just me, me hoping that they are back. They're not better than the Yankees. The Blue Jays aren't better than the Orioles. So they're just kind of to me. I view this as they're kind of rewarding / paying their guy to stay in Toronto. That's how I view this. But in terms of actual postseason success, I'm not seeing it anytime soon.
Okay, so I will agree with you to a certain extent, but also at the same point, you've got to look at it from Toronto's point of view. What if the Yankees were able to take Vladimir Guerrero away and they signed him? How terrible is that going to look? Oh, Toronto's going to be all great. We let another one get away, and so
Yeah.
so yes, I think they overpaid Vladimir Guerrero, but I think Toronto was put in a spot to where they had to. 2 years ago, they offered him $300 million for almost the exact same contract, and he was smart enough to say no. Then he just waits for somebody else to sign a bigger contract, and then he's like, okay, well, now that Juan Soto signed, I think I want to negotiate now.
Yeah.
So good for Vladimir Guerrero and his representation to a certain extent. And what I mean by that is now you've handcuffed have you handcuffed the Toronto Blue Jays by paying Vladimir Guerrero this huge contract? Would we say $35.7 million on average a year for the next 14 years? Well, what if Toronto goes, you know what? We can't afford to sign anybody else. You guys wanted
Right.
Vladimir Guerrero. Here you go. You got Vlad, and that's all we got.
Well, yeah, and that's kind of where I'm coming from with my comments. Like you got your guy, awesome, and we talked before about, well, how much can a player mean in terms of, overall morale, ticket prices, merchandise? That's legitimate. That's 1,000% legitimate. But if we're just talking getting into the playoffs and having some form of postseason success, which I believe is the point of having a major league team. So far as I know, that's kind of the overall goal that everyone's allegedly aiming for.
Yes.
I think you're going to be found wanting.
Okay. And you hit on it, so let's go ahead and ask. Here's your buddy saying another true statement. City would have rioted if Vlad Jr. leaves. I get it. I really do. And as an overall person in Major League Baseball, he's on covers. His jersey sales should be high. He is going to be the Toronto Blue Jays for the next 14 years, right? So then in Major League Baseball, what does Vladimir Guerrero have to do? And what I mean by that is, does he have to be in the home run derby? Does he have to be an all-star every year for the next 14 years? In order to live up to this contract, just in take Toronto and their market and all that stuff out of it, where does he have to be in baseball, right? And will he be that guy?
I think it would be unfair to say he needs to do it for all 14 years, because we've all kind of have said what a 14-year deal is. It may be great for the first half. The wheels do fall off, and when they fall off, it happens spectacularly. So I would say I'd be okay with, you mentioned, all-star home run derby. I'd be okay with minimum of six out of the 14 for both, though.
That's not even half.
Oh yeah, like they're gonna be suffering for at least, like, there's gonna be 6 years of greatness for sure, 6 years of suffering, and I'll give a little 2-year wiggle room.
Man, see, so if I was a Blue Jays fan, okay, so you know what? I'm a Reds guy. You're a Red Sox guy. Let me think here. So you just signed your second baseman, the young kid, right? You guys just signed him. Tell me his name. I know you've got it.
Oh my god,
Come on,
tall
Mr.
lanky
Red.
guy. I can't think.
Tall lanky guy. Anyway, you just
Yeah.
signed him to a contract, right?
You're right.
Some Red Sox fan you are. Anyway,
Yeah. I was put on the spot.
So right. So
Sounds good.
I'm sorry I put you on the spot. The same thing is going to be with
Cristianos.
there you go. There you go. So same thing's going to be with the Reds here before too long when they're looking at Ellie De La Cruz for the same kind of thing, right? Do you pay him this? Right? Do you pay him this super huge contract, or do you? And I said this last week when we were talking about other people, the Garrett Crochet contract we talked about last week, and a couple other Red Sox contracts that we talked about last week. I would pay them a shorter term and much more money than I would these 14. Like I would have paid Vlad 8 years and 350 than what I would have 14 years and 500. It's awful to have nobody talk, by the way, just so you know. Did something happen, sir?
Am I here now?
Okay. Gabriel, can you hear me at all? Did we
Yes.
lose each other?
Yes. Hello.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good. You're good. Yeah, and there you go. The Reds fan might break if Ellie leaves. 100%. We can't have that. But there's got to be some kind of limit, money-wise, to where you're like, okay, we cannot go over this threshold. And maybe it was $500 million, and maybe they told his agent, hey, we're not going over $500 million. And he goes, okay, $500 million sounds good to me. and then they structured something around that 500 million mark. I don't know how those negotiations went. Last thing that we'll talk about here on Vladimir Guerrero, we'll move on one more MLB topic, and then we'll get to this big announcement. And it's a good announcement. Trust me, ladies and gentlemen. Hang on with us. Stay there. Our numbers just keep growing. We're getting close to 100 again. So keep those views coming in, ladies and gentlemen. We appreciate it. Once again, you can comment, just like our buddy is, over and over again here, and you can do that as well. Click the comment section. Click the comment button and talk about what we're talking about, and we'll have you be part of our show here on the Sportz Truth. Does Vlad need to be better than Miguel Cabrera and Albert Pujols?
Ooh, I like that question. Does he need to be better? Let's talk about two different things here with that. In strict
Okay.
economics, I would say, yeah. I mean, what are the Toronto Blue Jays right now shelling out for? Now, in terms of what's realistic, what kind of era are we in right now? And again, where they are, that's gonna be tough. Should he? Maybe, sure, but I think that's a reasonable expectation. I think that's a reasonable bar. I don't think it happens. That's just my opinion. I don't think it happens for him.
Yes, I mean Cabrera and Pujols are two big guys to reach for.
Mm-hmm.
They were, Cabrera was the guy for years on the Detroit Tigers. Albert Pujols was the guy for years in St. Louis, and then he went to Anaheim, and he wasn't necessarily the guy anymore, but he was a guy at least.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the same way with Miguel Cabrera towards the end of his tenure there in Detroit. He may not have been the guy, but he was still a guy that they leaned on in order to get production and things like that from. So Vladimir Guerrero, there's a little bit of a drop off between Pujols and Cabrera. So I will say this: I think he needs to fall somewhere in between at least. He needs to be better than Cabrera, but he doesn't necessarily have to be the big home run guy that Albert Pujols was. And Pujols is top 10, I believe, home runs. He may even be top 5. And Miguel Cabrera's, I don't know. I should have looked this up beforehand. I did not. But, Miggy is up there, but he's probably in the top 15, 18, something like that. So just rattling things off on the top of my head. I wanted to end it with this because, this is a Red Sox guy for you. There's a great Netflix documentary out on your Red Sox that I have not watched yet, but I really want to. I can't. I'm one of those guys who waits until every episode of the documentary is out, and then I usually carve out like 8-10 hours and sit and watch all the episodes at once. So that's kind of what I'm waiting on doing here. So I don't know if you've seen this or not, buddy, but in the 4th episode of the Netflix series, The Clubhouse, which is the series where they follow the Boston Red Sox around all season long, and they did that last year. Outfielder Jarren Duran revealed that he actually attempted suicide in the lower parts of his career. I'll get to the quote here in just a second while you talk, but I want to ask you: have you watched the Netflix series? And knowing what Duran has done, will that make you watch that Netflix series?
I have not watched it, but during today's Red Sox broadcast, they were interviewing the documentary maker of this series, and it's really interesting in terms of how open the Red Sox allowed the film crew to come in and kind of capture everything, and then the fact that they were able to get this this player opening up about something very serious. So I think it's very. Listen, I'm a Red Sox fan. I haven't watched it yet. I am very intrigued. But whether you are or not, I think it'll be something definitely worth listening and worth watching in terms of someone who very very talented. Seemingly quote has it all, and yet also fighting demons that a lot of us do. So yeah, very, it's from what I could tell, very interesting watch, and really really grateful almost that the Red Sox allowed that type of access to take place. A lot of ball clubs, even if they get their arms twisted where they have to have something done on them, they aren't necessarily welcoming. But from what the documentary person said, he got more than enough of what he needed, and they're very cooperative. And then we get this as well in it. So I think it'll probably be one of the better watches of the year.
Okay. I have to agree with you here. I'm feverishly searching the internet for his quote. I know it was on a Yahoo story. I'm scrolling down here through it. Yeah, I think I've got it right here, I believe. So I'm in the same boat as you are. I do want to watch it. Um, but here's my big thing to you, and I
Mhm.
want to throw this up here on the screen real quick. I'll get to the comments here in just a second. I see we've got at least one more that is up here and ready to go. I'll ask you this: do you like players or athletes being vulnerable to the public? As a fan, no matter if it's Red Sox or anybody else,
Yeah.
do you like the players or the athletes being vulnerable like this to the public?
Yeah, I do. And I understand a lot of the reaction in terms of, well, how bad could it be? They're making X amount of money, and they're playing the sport that a lot of us grew up playing, slash we wanted to be in their position growing up at one point. And so again, they have it made, supposedly. But I think it shows a lot about what people are going through. It shows a lot about, terms of common struggles, and really how even when seemingly everything looks fine in terms of appearances and on the outside, like there's always something, for good or worse, going on that's deeper. And so I like that we're getting a little bit more public about these kind of conversations.
Yeah, I can't find the exact quote, but Duran talks about the fact that he actually put a shotgun in his mouth, sitting in his room. It's very telling. It's very deep. It's again, it's very open.
Hmm.
And personally, I love it when people show this side of themselves. It makes them more human. I kind of wrote on here some notes on the side for myself that you know, and I'll ask you the question that I'm looking at here. Do you think things like this make millionaires more human?
Oh yeah, and part of it that he then talked about was, kind of the media pressure, and a lot of the criticisms. So it goes back to the, well, I'm if it goes back to the, how the interactions that occur online. There is a real person ultimately who your words are about. And so hearing that kind of quote, that should kind of reinforce that, I feel. And so, you know not that if someone isn't doing what they should be doing or doesn't play well, you have to call a spade a spade. But for sure, a lot of times fans and media go too far. Like, this is someone's son still. This is someone who is part of a team, who's part of a family. And so it definitely does level the playing field to an extent. And one of the quotes that he used, I believe, was, he didn't like being treated like or being seen, perceived as a zoo animal. And so that's something that I think, if we steer clear of that more as a general public, I think that would be healthy for our society.
Absolutely, absolutely. Um, do you or someone that you know you know someone who has struggled with their mental health, like on a personal level, anything like that, Gabriel?
Oh yeah. I know immediate immediate family members, and then also, just in general, again, this is only what I can see, but
Hmm.
just in general from, either friends or friends of friends or people in public where it's like that's probably not a good situation. And it can happen in spurts. It's not always visible. It's not always readily apparent, but yeah, I would say for the most part everyone is has something that they're probably working through.
Right. I'm gonna look it up here. So yeah, I wanna end it with this. I really love the fact that he is willing to share, that he's open about it, and 100% the Red Sox could have stopped this, right? If
Hmm.
as Netflix is making this documentary, and Duran was like, "Hey, I want to share this," the Red Sox are like, "No, no, this is not something that you need to share. People are going to look at you differently. People are going to criticize you. I wouldn't put this out there." I don't know if they had those talks with him or not, but I'm sure that if the Red Sox would have gone to Netflix and said, "Hey, we don't want this out there. This is not something that we want to put him through whatsoever," they could have stopped it. So I also want to give kudos to the Red Sox as an organization and to MLB as well. If you are listening to us right now, and you could possibly be suffering from suicide, I want to make sure that you get the lifeline, which is you can dial star 988 for that. So, or you can text 988 as well. It's a very serious matter. I don't want to make light of it whatsoever. And I want to make sure that if anyone's out there and they need help, that they get the help that they need. Please, uh, anyone that's there here right at the moment, and thinking of some different things that they may want to do, uh, to themselves or anything like that, don't. Get yourself some help. Call the number that we just mentioned, and make sure that everything gets taken care of for you. Here's the last thing I want. I want a bracelet. And if I can get a hold of one, I'm going to do it. I don't know if you've seen this part of the documentary or not. I saw this clip. He writes on his wristbands every game, and you can look at it tomorrow when you're watching your Red Sox play. He writes the words "still alive" on his wristbands every day before he goes out onto the field. So I'm sure somebody is going to pick up on that marketing wise, and they're going to make I have a corrections bracelet on that says something that means something to me for as far as that part goes. I would love to have one of
Hmm.
those uh, still alive bracelets. So you're more in that area. You're more in tune with that team. If you see them, let me know. I'd love to have one. And it'd be something that I would wear with pride. So if you see that, let me know.
Of course.
Okay. So I don't want to, end everything on a like a depressing and somber note. So let's not, right? Let's not do that. Let's say that, suicide prevention is extremely important. Both of us really commend the Red Sox uh, and the players and everything else. The documentary itself, Netflix, everybody involved, Major League Baseball, as far as that part goes, on doing that. Thank you guys. We certainly do appreciate it. And now I want to make this announcement. So next week we said that we're going to have. Hang on, let me make sure that I get it correct here. We'll have Fanatic Dak on here next week to talk about Colorado sports at Denver D Mark. So it's at the word Denver and then capital DMARQ. You can reach him there on Twitter for that. In 2 weeks, we're going to do what I've got in my hand right here, and I'll tell you that in a moment. The week after that, we're going to talk Arizona Diamondbacks baseball with Thomas Millard, the guy from Locked On Diamondbacks. For those of you who have ever listened to the Locked On podcast, we're going to have the guy from the Diamondbacks that is on that Locked On Diamondbacks podcast. He will be here in 3 weeks. But in between those 2 weeks is the NFL draft. The NFL draft is 16 days away. It is 2 weeks from Thursday and 2 weeks from tonight. For the first time ever on the Sportz Truth, we are going to do a 4-person live NFL draft. I'll be hosting everything. We'll give you guys some more details as everything comes out. We've got 4 people who are going to take 2 divisions apiece. We are actually going to do the picks live right here for everyone to see, for everyone to hear, for everyone to debate. And those people that are going to do it is Cheese. We've had him on the show a couple of times already. He is at Football Cheese on Twitter. Wayne Gregory Jr. is going to be doing that. He is at WAYNE_GREGOIRE. He is also from Stadium Rant. Both myself and Gabriel have been on his podcast before, so we both know him. We are collaborating with that. We need a show. I don't understand. I think your buddy is saying he wants the 2 of you to do a show together. I don't know. Explain, sir, but that's okay. And then so we've got Shots Fired from the Sideline. That gentleman does a fantastic podcast as well. We're going to get a bunch of podcasters on here to do that. His Twitter is at ShotsFT Sideline. And then, of course, the 4th guy that's going to be doing this is right here to my right. And that, of course, is Curious Sports Pulse Media representative Gabriel. And, Gabriel Babyface Esparza. He will be doing that. And you can get a hold of him at Sports Pulse 100 as well. So 4 guys coming on here doing a live NFL draft. I won't be doing any picks. I'm actually going to be hosting. We'll talk about how it's all going to go down in the coming weeks. Look for us on social media. We are going to start putting things together. We've already got a graphic that Wayne made for us. I can't wait for you guys to see that. I've seen it already. That'll be up on our social media platforms here in the next just a little bit. We appreciate each and every one of you being on here with us. You know what? No music to fade us out today. Just myself and Gabriel going to be on here. Gabriel, how excited are you for this live NFL draft in 2 weeks, buddy?
Yeah, it's a really cool concept. We're doing it across the 4 of us with you co-hosting. So, the onus is going to be on me now to show that you made a right choice in co-hosting with you these past couple of episodes. I'm going to have to really up my game and have the best draft grade after this. But until then, thank you as always, Michael.
Well, of course. Like I said, we're going to do some different things here in the next couple of weeks. I will be announcing who will be picking which divisions. We'll be opening it up to our fans to help them make the picks. And we're gonna do a lot of different things here in the next 16 or so, actually 14 or so days, because it's 2 weeks from today. So it should be really exciting. It'll be a time to where you guys can all join us. And I know the NFL draft is a big thing, and we'll be doing our live NFL draft on Tuesday, 2 days before the real NFL draft. Okay, buddy. Hey, another great show. We're right at 2 hours. Didn't lose any people. We kept adding. We didn't quite get to the 100 mark, but I'm sure we'll get it here too. I'm sure we'll get it soon. Okay, we'll see if that happens, buddy. And this will be interesting to see who picks what, and then we'll have the live chat going with all the people who are going to be tuning into us. So I'm sure as the host as well, it'll be a really good interactive thing with all 4 of us and the fans with us the entire time. So until then, next week, of course, Fanatic Dak is going to be with us doing the Colorado stuff. Then we will do the draft. And then after that, we'll bring on our Locked On Diamondbacks guy, Thomas Millard. He will be with us then as well. So once again, thank you all very much for being with us. We certainly appreciate it. And Gabriel and I are signing off by saying this: the only thing that's fair in life is a baseball hit between the third and first base lines. Good evening, everyone.